There is a podcast about an island in the North Atlantic where people have been looking for an incredible treasure for more than 200 years.
Hello and welcome back to Could It Be?
An Oak Island podcast.
We are your hosts, Deidre and Dustin White.
Hey, we're here to talk about the Curse of Oak Island in a timely manner.
I know.
Let's do it.
And about the bend in the road, if you will.
The Bend in the Road.
Mhm.
Season 8, episode 13 was fantastic.
I thought it was 14.
Episode 14 was fantastic. It was really good. It was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
We had swamp action. We had uplands action. We had money pit
Action, war room action,
Lots of stuff going on.
Carmen Leg.
Oh, yeah. Field trip to Carmen Lake. Lots of good stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I'm excited to chat with you about it.
Mhm.
And let's talk.
Okay, sorry, I was just sharing it to our group there so that it got over to the members in there. And got my notes and I'm ready to go,
All right.
I guess. So where do you want to start today?
Well, we could start in the swamp or the money pit.
I'm leaning towards starting in the swamp.
Oh, wow. We usually end with the swamp. So yeah, let's talk about the swamp. I'm excited.
I'm sorry, does that offend you if I want to start with the swamp?
No, it's just unexpected.
Oh,
I love it.
I'm here to mix it up. It's gonna get crazy.
Yes. Let's get crazy.
Okay.
All right, so the swamp, at the beginning of the show, at the top, we had Rick, Craig, and Doug, and Tom Nolan hanging out in the swamp.
Correct.
So they arrive, and Clotworthy, does like a little overview of the stone road.
Yep.
And then they meet with Gary. Of course, he's metal detecting.
Naturally.
And he brings Scott up with him. And they have something to show to Tom Nolan. Something Tom Nolan may have seen before, but it's been a long, long time.
Yeah, and maybe not this exact one, if you will.
Not
and
this exact one.
They're pretty excited. Everybody's kind of got that look, and we know from last episode, Rick's like, I know who I want to show this to next.
Yeah.
First.
Well, so they bring out the ring bolt, and Gary, says, "Look at this thing; it's just magnificent."
I would agree, Gary.
I have to agree too. I mean, it's something. It's like a legendary thing because they've heard about him forever.
Yeah,
they've just never seen one. And to have it just come out of the ground like that, man. Whew.
I mean, can you imagine Billy? Like the moment we know he dives in with his hands and he like gets his hand around it. It's like, whoa. I bet you he instantly knew what that was.
He probably did.
Probably. He's Billy. He knows like everything, right?
He is Billy.
Okay, let's see here. So Tom's examining the ring bolt and says that he's holding something that Fred based much of his research off of. I mean, we know earlier in the season also they went looking for these ring bolts and came up empty-handed.
Yeah, but they sure found one.
And I thought it was interesting that this one actually wasn't in a stone. Like all the, at least the legends I've heard, they've been in stones, but it sounds like maybe that wasn't the case.
Yeah, it's strange that Fred Nolan, didn't leave him in the stone, I guess, but...
Well, why would you leave him behind for another treasure hunter to find if you're not, on best terms with them?
It's true. I guess they weren't buddies, were they?
No. Classic treasure hunter move. I don't blame the guy. That's why on his maps, there was something there at the spot that's indicated, but it doesn't say what it is. Or maybe it's like written in code.
Written in code, huh? Yeah.
Could it be?
Yeah, well, Tom says that had his dad been there, he would have been plotting the location.
Oh, yeah.
And of this one and see how it related to the other location. So the other found ring bolts and saying to himself, where do I go now?
Yeah, he probably wouldn't still be standing there. He would have found it, ran to get his equipment to figure out now what that means.
Oh, don't worry. They hurried and got Steve out there to plot the location and everything.
Steve!
So it's fine. Yeah. All right, so there was a flashback about Fred Nolan in the early 1960s, talking about how he approached M.R. Chappell about helping excavate the money pit, and he said, sorry, bro, I already got Dan Blankenship. And so he said, okay, sorry, bro. I'm gonna go buy a good chunk of the land and do my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he bought 8 lots of Oak Island, and that included several swamp lots.
Mhm.
And he spent a lot of, many years out there investigating. And he did find at least 2 or maybe 3 ring bolts.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of conflicting info there.
Yeah, and I guess really we won't ever know exactly how many we found, just because, treasure hunter. It's out. They both, Dan and Fred, would be playing it close to the vest,
Yeah.
and he was highly invested in the swamp. We know that partly because he had a lot of swamp plots, but I don't know. This whole swamp thing has just blown my mind this year.
Yeah.
And I just hear Tom saying that his dad would have been like, I told you so.
I told you so.
I would have said the same thing. Told you so.
Yeah. So
Not that I love the swamp. I'm very interested and glad to know about it. But, I hear the smell's pretty bad.
yeah, that's what I hear. That's what Marty keeps ingraining in my brain. He's trying to keep people away from the swamp. Maybe he really knows more about the swamp than he's letting on. He just wants people to think that he doesn't, so that people stay away from it.
Marty?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say, is he working with Charles on something? Speaking of, we gotta rectify Charles in this episode.
Charles is a hero.
Charles is a hero.
But we already knew that.
Yeah, that's true. But he's a hero.
We'll get to that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Rick suggests that now that we've shown this ring bolt to Tom,
let's take it to Carmen Lake.
Right?
Field trip.
And we know later in the episode, which we'll get to, Tom actually gets to go on the field trip. Gets to go meet Carmen.
Yeah, very
lucky.
Very cool, very fun. All right. Gary says that he's certain that they're going to find another ring bolt following this road. He calls it the highway to treasure. Yeah, I kind of like Billy's treasure path better myself.
Billy's treasure path. That feels like a video game title.
Billy's treasure path.
I can see it.
You can make
Maybe we
app.
do it in 8-bit or something.
Yeah, and have it be like a phone game. So it's like an app. And
Billy's uncovering the path, and it's like a Bobby Dazzler pops up, and he's using Billy's trowel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of cool if it was like a Billy, Gary, and Jack game. So you would have Billy doing the digging with his trowel in the treasure path. You'd have Gary scanning the scoops, and then you'd have Jack digging out the Bobby Dazzlers. Sounds great.
If you put Jack and Billy together, that's a lot of green. It's like the power of green. That's all I got. I just wanted to add that.
And khaki with
green
Gary.
And khaki.
Yeah.
Do they all have to wear shorts to be on Billy's team?
They should.
They should.
I'm wearing shorts right now.
I know, you silly, silly, silly person.
Yeah. So they all laugh at the highway to treasure thing, but I still like Billy's treasure path better. But this one's fine.
That's okay. We can let Gary have the highway and Billy has the path.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing that actually happens is going to Carmen Lake, even though it's not the swamp, but
yeah, I think we dive into Carmen though.
In terms
sequence.
Of sequence of the episode. So they head out to Northville Farm, right? So Carmen Blake's blacksmithing shop. We had Charles, Jack, and Tom going on this field trip together, and they arrive. They have one thing on their mind: ring bolt.
Ring bolt. Ring bolt.
Yeah, Carmen and Tom shake hands. They've never met before. So it was a meeting of these two
legends now.
Well, sure, but they're it's just fun that they're both kind of regularly featured on the show, but they never met. So it's cool to get them together. It's kind of almost like a certain Mr. Robert Clotworthy never having met basically anyone from the show.
I know, that's so sad.
Yeah.
This needs to be rectified. Stat.
Robert Clotworthy needs to be on the island.
Yeah, live narration too.
Why don't they do a drilling down, kind of like how they did with William Shatner, but with Robert Clotworthy on the island?
Oh my gosh! And then Robert Clotworthy can sit in the war room, and he'll use his voice for every question that he asks them. Oh, this would be epic.
Needs to happen, Prometheus.
Yeah. Or
do
Maddie,
it.
can you hook them up? Like, do the thing? Magic?
I don't know. Last time they got something like that happening, he was kicked off his own show for William Shatner. Showing Down, it's his show, and then
That's
William
true.
Shatner
I
shows
forgot
up and takes it
about
over
that.
for an episode.
That's hilarious.
All right, so
Okay, back to Northville Farm, right?
Yeah.
And we all know Tom Nolan's definitely going to escort the ring bolts. He's not going to let that thing go. That is why he needed to go on this field trip, in my opinion. It was important.
Yeah, well, they did show the artifacts to Carmen, and he says that a very, very experienced blacksmith made this, and says it is a ring bolt / anchor pin indicative of a wharf.
And Jack gets a big grin, and everyone likes the sound of a wharf, right?
But they didn't really exactly understand what he was saying at that moment, because Carmen Legg was about to drop a bomb. He's like, yo, okay. Why do I say yo and
I
bro
don't know.
and stuff everything so much?
You're like a real bro lately. I'm not sure what the deal is. You're like, yo, bro.
Yo, bro. Yo ho, bro. A pirate's life for me.
A bro shanty?
Bro shanty, huh? Okay. So, yeah, then I don't know. Carmen says this is the bomb that he's dropping. This would go into a timber construction. Everyone's probably like, what?
Yeah, because like this wasn't found in a boulder. And then for him to say into timber construction, it's like, oh, duh. The other ring bolts he had found were much bigger that would have been in a boulder. And he says, yeah, they would be if they were in a rock or whatever.
Unless you had a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, unless you had a whole bunch of them. Still, if they were in a rock, they'd be bigger. But if you had a whole bunch of these ones with the little weird twisty ends, that could be for mooring a large ship. Or just a single or a small little ship. And we get an animation of that. It's a beautiful animation. That is all.
Okay. Yeah. So he says that the split on the end is what gives it away for being something used in timber. And driving it into something, it would prevent it from coming back out because of the way that the end was split. Charles reaffirms that this one was made for wood. He's like, so it's wood. Okay, got it. Because they weren't expecting that. They were really thinking it was something, I think, that was in a rock at some point.
I did, until Carmen dropped the bomb.
Yeah, so Carmen says that it was made specifically for wood. They would put ring bolts in the boulders on the shore for the boats, but not particularly like this one for really for what they were expecting, I guess. Yeah. So Tom says that the ones that they've seen in pictures in the boulders from the island look bigger than that. And Carmen replied that if they were anchor pins in the rocks, yes, they would be much larger.
Much larger, yeah.
So Jack asks what kind of thing a pin like this would be used for. And Carmen does say to moor a ship, but he explains not a giant vessel. Yeah, and I think later on when Marty's talking about it, he mentions, the big ship might not even come in to if Oak Island was 2 islands or if it was a harbor there, a large treasure ship might have been just basically off the shore with a smaller ship, bringing loads in.
Which would make sense. So we've talked to Tony when we first interviewed him last year, and then when we talked to him this year, and he has explained how the off the shore of the island, I mean, it's really shallow and it has those big ridges, and it would be quite treacherous to get a big ship in there. That's why there's so many shipwrecks in the area. So it would make sense that you wouldn't risk your treasure boat or whatever it is and bring it all the way in. I mean, how many pirate movies have you seen where they're coming ashore via their much smaller boats? You wouldn't just pull the big ship in.
Yeah, it's just that for people that don't work or think about ships a lot, you just think you pull in the big boat.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just what comes into mind. But then, of course, once somebody explains the other, then you're like, oh yeah, that's probably the case.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. Ta-da.
ta-da!
That makes way more sense.
Yeah.
And so that was really interesting. The idea that it came out of wood, and we saw what seemed to be maybe even a wood structure lying beside the stone pathway. I mean, that's interesting. Could it have been also that there was a wood structure on top of this wooden path to make a wharf, or was the wood just further out in the swamp? I don't know. I think there's,
Don't know.
like Tom says earlier, now we have more questions.
Well, for a moment ago, you said something about Tony. Speaking of Tony, there was a flashback to when they did that scan,
Yes.
sonar scan of the south side of the swamp with Alex and Tony from earlier this year, and the findings that of remains of a strange square-shaped rock structure. And Spooner told Tony that it might be the remains of an old wharf. Well, that's starting to ring some bells.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the flash forwards
right.
to the next time. I think it was just the next episode, but when Tony was diving on the structure and confirmed that it was not a natural feature, Clotworthy wondered if the like in a narration, if the ring bolt was connected to the square wharf or to this stone pathway, and it could explain the 200-foot anomaly in the swamp that looked eerily like the shape of a large galleon ship, which we're now saying probably was offshore, and they were probably moving the stuff inward, unless they got all the treasure off of it and they just wanted to sink it. Maybe it was damaged or something, and they just had to like put it down.
Layer to rest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm still it sounds like Fred Nolan knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, as a surveyor, he was, and it sounds like he was a very good surveyor from what we've heard, is that he collected a lot of data, right? And when you're that type of personality, you're going to be collecting, analyzing, and his survey plans are huge, right? We've seen that. So he's literally looking at the big picture all the time, and then being able to get out and get boots on the ground. I don't know. I think there's so much of his stuff that I would. Can you imagine getting all of Nolan's stuff and Blankenship's stuff, like the information they had together with their powers combined? Could have been cracked way open.
Yeah, well, some of that comes into play later in this episode too.
That's true.
Some of this info that's slowly leaking out from the archives of those two Oak Island Titans. So
now, remind me, the Behringer survey, didn't that come out of
Dan's stuff?
Was it Dan's stuff, or was it when they were also sorting through Tom Nolan's stuff?
You mean Fred Nolan?
Fred Nolan's stuff. Well, I guess technically would have been
Tom's. I guess it is Tom's now, yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that came out of the Blankenship archives. So.
Okay, well, sorry, just curious. Little side tangent there.
Yep, so back from the flashback and flash forward.
The flash forward from the flashback.
Yeah. All right, so Jack notes that they had found this artifact in the southeast corner of the swamp where Spooner thought there might be a possible wharf, like we were mentioning. Tom tells Carmen that this isn't the first ring bolt that they found on the island. That his dad found 3, and one was found along the swamp, not terribly far from this one. Carmen says that it's very indicative of a wharf pin for anchoring small ships, but not really, really large ships. If there were more than one, then the ship would be larger. So, I mean, he's not rolling it out.
No, and then
Charles goes, wow.
And Carmen drops another bomb here.
Uh-oh.
Says that this style of pin hasn't been done since 1760.
That's a long time ago, and a good 35 years before the discovery of the money pit.
And Jack asked the earliest date that, this artifact could potentially date back to. And Carmen says he wouldn't go any further than, say, the 1600s. But this was very common during, like, the early to mid 1700s. So this is definitely predating
all that stuff.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
perfect, right? It kind of fits right in with what we were hypothesizing.
Yeah. I mean, so you know what's crazy?
What?
We talk about Samuel Ball in this episode, right?
Yes.
Samuel Ball didn't, I don't think he moved to Oak Island until the 1780s.
Mm-hmm.
So this ring bolt was already sitting in the mud by the time before Samuel Ball even moved onto the island, you know, potentially. And that he eventually ended up owning this lot where this was found. And so it's just crazy when you think about it in that perspective. Like, man, this predates Samuel Ball and everything that he is said to have done on the island, or maybe possibly found on the island. Like, this is crazy.
What would be bananas is if
Bananas.
Yeah, that's how you spell it. Especially Gwen Stefani. Go bananas. That sorry, is if they're digging over in the Ball Foundation and
they find
what comes up in the cellar is like a ring bolt or something.
That'd be funny.
To me, that'd be the one thing. Or one thing in it there.
What would be the one thing at that point? That
Samuel Ball found it.
Oh, okay.
What if there's just like there's like a little cubby somewhere and there's like a stack of these ring bolts because he just like he picked them up and just followed them right to the treasure. That would be amazing. I actually think that would be an epic story. I'm really hoping we find a ring bolt on his foundation. Laird, did that happen? I gotta know.
Probably not, but
hey, don't count it out.
Back to reality, okay? So in reality, this was found in the swamp, not on Samuel Ball's lot. But no. I'm just thinking, like, if Samuel Ball was buying pins like this from the blacksmith, they're going to be a little more modern. They're not going to be, you know, he's not going to buy pins that have been sitting around for 35 years to use. You know, so what I'm just saying is, like, these guys had, you know, it was just 35 years. Like the latest date this could have been made was 35 years before those guys even did anything in the money pit. And so it's just kind of mind boggling. Yeah.
And just kind of thinking out loud here, which, you know, causes problems. But the ring bolt, I didn't hear him say anything about it. But it'd be really interesting to get it tested by Dr. Krista Brousseau, because I'd be curious to know
how much manganese is in it.
Well, we like with the spikes, and she had said that it likely would have come out of the UK. So if they had a bunch of those made up before coming over, maybe they knew they were going to have to build a wharf or whatever. Why not have a bunch of ring bolts made up by the same or a similar person? And if you know where that or whatever came out of, and if it's out of the UK, that could really tie it to the treasure story and to the money pit.
Yeah. They should laser blade it, get Tobias to do his analysis. Remember Tobias? Remember that
See
guy?
how much manganese is in it? I mean, for all we know, we may be able to pin it down to the exact quarry. Not quarry. Yeah. Isn't that right? That's what they need? Yeah.
That's right.
Let's send it to Krista Brousseau. I'd like to talk to her.
Should be a good one. For sure.
Okay, sorry. I'm done with that tangent.
Yeah. So Charles says that this definitely predates the discovery of the money pit, and Carmen says, yep. And in an interview, Charles said that it's very significant find that they're finding this pin in the stone on the stone road, and that the fact that Carmen believes it came from a wharf, and you know, that just brings up a number of theories in his head. Like, you know, you can start seeing like fireworks going off in Charles's brain as he's kind of like thinking about, well, it could mean this, it could mean this. So
more questions.
Pretty cool stuff. And I don't know. Then they kind of just end it there. They thank Carmen. They say, You're awesome, man. Take it easy. Peace
Take
out.
it easy. We'll try to bring you some more old stuff. You like it. We like it. We're going to keep finding it.
Yeah, as they're kind of like leaving, Jack says, well, that was successful.
Yeah. Tom's thinking, heck yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So then they immediately go to the Oak Island Interpretive Center patio.
Yeah.
Where they meet. Yeah, because what?
Because they need to report their findings.
Yeah, so Rick and Marty are there.
Mm-hmm.
So is Doug.
Yep.
And they're like, guys, you need to hear this.
Yeah.
This is not a pin that would be in a stone like we thought.
Yeah, we've got some additional information for you from our favorite blacksmith.
Yeah. So Marty says that he's impressed with the information.
Mm-hmm.
And Charles explains that this pin would go into, not into granite,
Mm-hmm.
but into a wharf,
Mm-hmm.
into like wood. Tom explained the split end, locks it into place, and the biggest, the bomb that they had to drop was
Mm-hmm.
what Deidre said earlier, that it couldn't be any newer than 1760.
Mm-hmm.
And Marty's like, wow, because that's like, when you get stuff like that, that's like, man, okay, we're getting major stuff prior to the money pit.
Yeah, we're really just kind of narrowing in being able to date this to being part of the deposit and tying it to the money pit. Being able to tie the swamp to the money pit, I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yep. So the youngest could be at 1760. Tom says, but he said 1600s.
Mm-hmm. That it could go back that far, right?
Yeah,
so the older stuff we're pulling out still kind of ties in.
Yeah. So just cool stuff. Rick says that it begs the question, what if was it dropped in the swamp, or did the wood rot away?
Mm-hmm.
And Marty says, well, it sure didn't float in there.
Right. I think we all concur with that statement.
Yeah, that's pretty good though. So Doug, he says that the fact that it's splayed suggests that it was used and not just dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Good point, Doug.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Rick says that either way, it was found on top of the stone feature. And Doug goes to point out that may mean that the stone pathway was falling out of use by 1760 because soil started accumulating on top of it. And
I thought that was a really great point.
Yeah.
Doug, like, bravo. Like, way to put some good context in there.
That's a noble explorer for you.
That is the noble explorer.
Yeah. So Doug kind of finishes by saying that means that the stone pathway predates that pin, that wharf pin.
Mm-hmm.
So
and we know everything that's accumulated on top of it, right? I mean, and how much sediment and such is there. I mean, that had to fall pretty far out of use by then.
Yeah.
I never thought this is what we were going to get this season. Like, there is no way.
I didn't think we were getting a stone path.
Another one. Like, because then we also have the paved area towards the back.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was as good as it gets in the swamp. I thought that was as good as it's going to get in the swamp, but no.
Yeah.
This is way better.
I thought we might get something with that anomaly that the seismic had revealed. And I'm sure it'll still eventually be something, but probably not at all what we expected. Kind of like, classic Oak Island.
Classic Oak Island.
Classic Oak Island.
Yeah, so in the interview, Marty speculated that the ring bolt could have been used for, or what it could have been used for. And there could have, like we were saying earlier, there could have been a wooden wharf and an inlet from the sea deep enough for a vessel that goes back and forth from the big ship. So, yeah, I mean, it could be.
Could it?
Could it be?
Let's see here.
He calls it highly intriguing and old.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've been called highly intriguing and old.
No.
You see what I did there? Oh, shut your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, it's just when Carbon Lake saw it, he knew it was high, like crafted by a blacksmith that, knew what they were doing, like a very talented blacksmith. And
that's why I'm thinking if it came from overseas, because it would have been really hard to make there on the island.
Yeah. They had a mold. They could have probably done it, but
I don't know enough about blacksmith. We have a blacksmith shop here at Fort Vancouver. We should go grill them on some of these
We should
questions.
just go find things and take them to him and film it and be
It's-
like, "What is this?"
I'm gonna bring him my cast iron skillet.
He could be Carmen Lake 2.0. Be funny.
I saw this meme, and I sent it to Scott. It says if you take a hot frying pan and you stick it in the sink with water, you'll feel like a blacksmith. I laughed pretty hard at it. I mean, it's not good for your frying pan, but if you're having a bad day and you want to feel as cool as Carmen,
Do it.
heat up a hot pan and then throw it into the sink with some hot water, and you'll be like, yeah, I'm a blacksmith.
Probably not a good idea, though.
Yeah, probably not a good idea,
funny.
but if you're having a rough day, sometimes you do what you gotta do.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Marty says that fits with what they're hoping for the swamp and maybe help explains the road. And it's exciting in terms of what they were offloading here. And Charles says that where they were taking it, Marty, Charles was like, where are they taking
Yeah.
it? Like
where are we
from
going
that
with
point?
this?
Yeah. So I don't know.
More
I wish I could tell
questions.
you. Maybe by the end of this episode we'll have a better idea because they find
A bend in the road?
a bend in the road.
Could it be?
Could be.
Could we speculate?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the swamp, huh?
Yeah, because Marty's like, let's get back to work.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day, but let's go, guys.
He's like, I'd rather sit here and drink some wine, but we better get to work so
All
we
right.
can make some return on this investment.
Yeah, so they're back at the swamp near the uplands.
Mm-hmm.
We got
Yeah.
Aaron Taylor, Dr. Aaron Taylor, and Miriam
Mhm.
working on uncovering more of the stone feature.
Correct.
Aaron is instructing Miriam, and they want to find where the road begins turning.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. He tells her to be on the lookout for any stones that look out of place, and he points out a piece of blue slate that he had found.
Yeah, and my first thought before he pulled it out was, remember at the pine tar kiln, they had found that rock that seemed really out of place, smooth. I don't remember if it was a
With the
blue
hole in
slate.
it?
Yeah, with the hole in it.
Mhm.
And it had that round chip in this one. Maybe it was also part of that. They get to speculating about the ring bolt being in that. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Wait a second.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they call over Spooner
Mhm.
because he's like, Aaron is talking to Miriam, like, hey, do you think this looks natural? Does this seem...
He called over Craig, too.
Yeah, and Craig, like, guys, hey, come show me. What do you think? I think this looks out of place.
Yeah, but it's really small. It's really a thin piece of
Mhm.
slate. So I don't know. Anything could happen.
But it does seem to be a different type of stone
Yeah.
than what's there. I mean, to me it could be a marker for a surveyor or something, because I was going back to the ring bolt, and the ring bolt, if Carmen says that came out of a wood, right? This would have been used for like a wharf. It wouldn't make sense to go into something like a piece of stone, unless that stone is just used like as a guiding piece. I don't know. I do think it seems out of place though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it is.
It is.
So, well, you gotta just, if the archaeologist is like saying, hey, this is something that's interesting, you should take some note, right?
Well, definitely. And Aaron and Spooner seem to really be taking charge in the swamp.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
They concur.
Yep. And so there's kind of like a rounded little notch taken out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Spooner asks him to remove it. And so he does, and he cleans it up. He takes a closer look. And with the ring bolt being in this area, this circular feature doesn't quite look like he'd expect. Like, it's not natural.
Mm-hmm.
So
It stands out.
yeah, like if it were to break, it usually would just have like a nice straight edge. So the indent like that is really odd. And then he recommends looking at these stones more carefully and see if there's any attempt to make a hole in any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that the question begs, why put a ring bolt in a rock here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Billy says that he thinks it's suggesting working with a block and tackle or with heavy cargo, you know, heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which is great. We are new animation of them pulling a chest up, right?
Yeah, that's a weird animation.
Yeah, my problem is like because there's a chain going through it attached to a treasure chest coming up, but once you hit the bolt, like you'd have to stop.
Yeah, and pull the treasure chest through the bolt or what?
Yeah, like because what should really be happening would be like the chain would be on like a big loop, right? So you would attach the chest to this point and then you could pull it like a loop instead of like, just hitting the ring bolt. Maybe that's why the ring bolt popped out. They just hit it too hard with their treasure chest.
Maybe there was like some kind of like clipping, if you
kind of like when you're climbing.
Yeah, you get past one bolt, then you clip it, then you pull it back, then you pull it uphill more, then you clip it again. But I don't know, because that would make it so that it would, if you lost your grip and then it slid back down, if there's nothing holding it. I mean,
no, yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to and you only have so much time, and you've already put this much time and resources into creating this stone pathway.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just an animation.
It was. I mean, sometimes we give the animations a lot of credit. You asked if it was my new favorite, but I still think my favorite is the one of them pushing the giant cargo of gold off the treasure ship, and there's 8 big old buckets at the bottom.
That was the slipway.
Yeah, that was down the slipway where they slipped off. But I bet you there could be some epic mashup there with the treasure chest being pulled up. You have the new animation of the mooring of the tiny ship, tiny boat, and then we have our pushing of the cart.
Yeah, I have a different thing I want to talk about.
Okay, tell me.
So that animation that you were just talking about in Smith's Cove from a few years ago, they're pushing the big thing of gold across the slipway. So it makes me think, well, did they unload at the eastern end of Oak Island, where Smith's Cove is, in the open, or did they find that little inlet where they're out of view from the wide open ocean or bay, so people can't really see what they're doing? I mean, it makes a lot more sense unloading at the swamp than at Smith's Cove.
Yeah, I totally agree. You'd be very wide open over in Smith's Cove, but maybe that was the diversion for what was actually happening.
Oh, there's so many.
Because what did we date the slipway over in Smith's Cove to? Do you remember? I mean, it's been a while. I feel like I need a list.
Yeah, we should have a list.
We really should have a list of all these dating.
It was 17 something.
Yeah, it was 1700s. And I'm just trying to align whether or not that makes sense.
You know when it was? Many moons ago.
Just a
couple. It was a long time ago.
Just a little bit ago. No big deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was that new animation. Then we had Rick in an interview talking about how the ring bolt could have been used as a support or pulley system, or a way to assist in pulling large cartloads, but it's too early to tell. And that's kind of what we were just describing. Spooner says that this is a nice little road hidden by a swamp. It's a road built to last, and the big problem is why?
Yeah.
Aaron says that he'll take the area down and see what else is in store for us. So they're gonna keep on working. You know what? That would make Marty very happy.
Yes, I think it would make most anybody very happy. Anybody that watches.
Yeah. So there was a commercial break at that point, but as we're coming back from commercial, there was a commercial for next week's episode of Oak Island, The Curse of Oak Island Drilling Down, with our friend Maddie Blake.
Yes, there was. And I'd like to point out that Scott has joined. So my chat over here is exploding with hearts, because hearts for Scott.
Hearts for Scott. Of course. Yeah, so
so the drilling down, because I was asking, what is this Oak Island connection, right, that they're talking about? They did talk about the connection with Samuel Ball.
Yep.
And the island. I don't know who else they're going to be.
I don't know. Maybe they're going to really drill down on Samuel Ball.
Maybe they're going to find a ring bolt in his basement.
I don't think so.
Go,
Probably
Samuel.
Not. Probably not, but who knows?
Okay, and then we come back, and Billy is welcoming Rick and Craig to the area he's working on. And Craig, I thought the same thing here. Craig says it's gotta be good news if Billy is using a shovel and not his trowel. Like, if he's using that size shovel and Billy's in a hole, like, I freaked out for a second there. He had his own test pit. I don't remember if that's actually what he called it, but he called it like a sample or something. And I was like, oh yeah, Billy's got a test pit. And he likes it.
Billy's suddenly an archaeologist.
He is. And he's getting there trying to figure it out. And he is noticing all the, like, he's pointing out the cobbles and everything that's in there that indicates this could potentially be even more of this road.
Yeah, he says it looks suspiciously like the road. And suddenly I just had a vision in my brain. This would be so epic. Spin-off cartoon Billy the Explorer, kind of like Dora the Explorer, but Billy. Yeah. I'm
game.
What if he's just like another character on Dora the Explorer and like he's helping her find treasures? Wouldn't that be great?
That would be. Does he always get to use like an excavator?
Sure.
I just keep thinking of replacing him with Bob the Builder with Billy the Builder. Yeah. That seems like a really easy swap.
Yeah.
But there needs to be some treasure involved. So,
Prometheus, you're
make
missing
it happen.
Out. You got to make a Billy cartoon.
I have some pitches for you, Prometheus.
Mm-hmm. Well, just the Fellowship of the Dig, the cartoon, like we had as far as our little animation things we made a few months ago, like last month.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
Good stuff. You get 1 million viewers, trust me, at least. All right. So yeah, Billy's doing his thing in the swamp. We do have Gary showing up.
Everybody's looking at Billy in a hole.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. Gary shows up and says, I don't know, but I think he's a little boggled by like, this roads keep going. Like it just goes forever.
Because like Spooner even said, eventually we're going to stop using stones because you don't need them as you get towards the, in the uplands where the dirt is and all that.
You know what I had heard? I don't remember who said this, but someone's like, well, I know where all the boulders from the boulderless beach ended up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The stone road, like that's why there's a boulderless beach, is because they moved them all to the swamp.
Then I would say let's check the path and see if there's a bunch of ring bolts for hauling those boulders. But I've also seen it suggested multiple times that the road could have been used from like ballast of a ship, and if we've got a few ships that have been broken up and used for other things. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. If so, I'd like to know where those rocks were from, potentially, because that could be a nice connecting feature.
Yeah, so Gary's just wondering where the road's headed. Rick says uphill toward the money pit. So, I mean, that road is just freaking bonkers. Like, they were not expecting to see it this year, and then suddenly there's it's almost like a road paved in gold to the money pit,
or paved in casks and ring bolts. And
no, that's next episode.
Oh, my bad.
So Steve shows up.
Yep.
And
this is the moment when you can determine whether or not it is part of the road, right? Because
everybody's showing up.
Everybody's showing up, and Steve's given us an elevation. So when he shows up, I instantly knew 2 feet above sea level. If he says that is part of the road.
So guess what the elevation was?
2 feet above sea level. Woo!
Yep. So I guess I would suggest it's part of the road. And Aaron jumps in to take a closer look and says that the stones were placed onto organic materials, and there are pieces of wood at the bottom, which is consistent with what they found elsewhere on the stone road. The wood is matting, and the stone, the stone on top. So it's like, yeah, that's what it is. It's like another part of the road. Or maybe it's a second road.
Yeah, so we've got the peat from the swamp. We have the matting of all the axe cut wood, and then stones, and I'm sorry, that seems like a road sandwich to me. And then we're at the right elevation.
Mm-hmm. Did you see what Scott said in the chat? He said that, it took more than the boulders from the boulderless beach to build that road.
I believe it. I totally do. So ballast? I don't know. There's
so much.
And then you
stones.
have like
So
a
many
stone trench that is coming from the area in which Chris and Corian, you know, their spot. And then we have the stones that would have been used in the back parking lot over there, the stone paved way. You know, that's probably where they kept all their carts for stuff. I don't know.
The ones with the big wheels.
Yeah, that's their parking lot, probably. I don't know. That is so many stones.
How much manpower did it take to build this thing?
And ox power.
Yeah, man. So Gary says, so you're thinking this is man-made? To Aaron. He says, I would say so, yes. Yeah. So Rick then says, let's assume that this is a road, and they're almost at a decision point, whether to turn left, right, or go straight. Rick asks Aaron where they would chase this thing, and he says, well, probably toward the money pit. So Aaron's just like, all in.
Do you think, I mean, because he's saying, at what point, you know, where do we chase it to? And Billy is suggesting, hey, if this area here is a turn, you know, are we chasing it towards the money pit because we want to chase it towards the money pit and we're looking that way? Or are we seeing that there is indeed a bend there?
I don't know. Because, like, you look at it and you see, so last week we had the little, like, map where it highlighted two roads.
Yes.
The main one, and then one that's running, like, along the side of the swamp.
Yeah, so up the eastern side, and then
as they're digging up this the main one, they're expecting it to turn left so that it connects with that one. But
we haven't finished cleaning that area yet.
And who says that it turns left? Maybe that one just runs into the main road.
Yeah, it could be a system of roads,
and that's why. Well, this one's probably going toward the money pit. Like the main one's going toward the money pit. There's one that was along the shore of the swamp, which may have been the shore of a separate island back in the day, or could have been just, you know, the shore of that inlet. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't know.
And I was just going to mention the seismic and why this type wouldn't show up, but it's right at the surface, and seismic is only good when we get deeper, at least that type of seismic.
I think they were like, what were they?
Isn't it like at least 8 feet?
No, I thought it was more than that. I thought it was like 20 feet or something.
Something like that it would start showing
that seismic technology wasn't made to go that shallow. They were experimenting with it at Oak Island. You know, like Oak Island was an opportunity to see how shallow they can go.
So that definitely takes that off the table.
The ship shape anomaly showed up around 50 feet deep, right?
True.
I don't know. Yep. So I don't know. This kind of just this part of the checking out this road ends with Billy suggesting that they keep going the way that they're going, because if there's a turn in the road, they should find it soon. Craig nods. Gary says, we ain't ever getting out of here, are we?
And everybody laughs, and it's true. You're never getting out of there unless the road leads you out.
Gary's always there for a quip.
Oh, yeah. Always good for a... Call Gary. He'll give you a good pun or 12.
Yeah. All right. So then we move over to the money pit.
Yeah. So let's go money pit.
That was the end of the swamp in this episode.
Yep. Swamp, Dunzo. Money pit. Terry, Scott, Charles, and Steve are supervising the core drilling operation of borehole CD 8.5, where they think they have found the Tupper shaft, which was built by the Turo Company in 19th century and was supposed to be 10 feet from the known location of the money pit.
Yeah, and so they get a choice sausage, bring it up to Terry's operating table.
Yep.
You know, we got Scott. He's using a box cutter, slicing it open. And or maybe it's a sausage casing cutter.
Yeah, sausage casing cutter, whatever you want to dub it, that's fine.
Yeah, so the section that they're looking at was from 53-foot depth. Scott calls it very soft. And then, whoa, says Terry.
Yeah.
Like, he's excited.
Oh, yeah. Totally stoked.
We didn't quite get a hold of the phone, but he said, hold it now.
Right? Oh, Terry.
So they find a big chunk of wood again at a depth of 58 feet. And they say that it gives them real encouragement to carry on. Tells them that they're close.
Yeah. And Scott says, we're still in the game.
Yeah.
I agree, Scott. Still in the game.
Yeah. Charles is saying, like, that they just don't know the dimensions of any of these shafts, right?
Yeah.
So they could have been rectangular. They could have been square. They could have been 8 feet wide. They could have been 10 feet wide.
Could have been octagons for all we know. Like,
probably not.
Probably
That's a
not.
lot of extra construction and a lot of extra like engineering to make sure that each side is.
All I'm saying is we don't know definitively. I'm just trying to prove a point. What if there was some sacred geometry they felt should have been used to create this shaft?
It's a 6-pointed star.
Exactly. Who knows?
Yeah. So
so they got to define this shaft. That's why they're working so hard to really figure out what the corners are, figure out what the actual sizes are, and confirm some of this information so that they can indeed get to be only 10 feet away. If we don't, then you could be an additional, say, 10 to 15 feet off.
You could. And so Terry is looking at it like, hey, we just need to get to the bottom because the truest information that we could get is from the bottom.
If the bottom's still intact, then yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And so how far away is the money pit at this point? Not entirely sure, but it's looking close.
Yeah, hopefully 10 feet is what we're hoping for.
Yep. So then we do eventually come back to the money pit, and Terry is instructing Choice to continue the current borehole down to 110 feet. He's there supervising with Scott.
Naturally.
Hearts for Scott. And then actually the show goes back to the swamp for a little bit, and then we come back to the money pit, I think, for the final time.
Yeah, I think so.
Terry calls out 98 on the bottom. Charles repeats 98.
So they're on the bottom part of that Choice sausage is 98 that they're going through. And Clotworthy explains that Steve has joined Terry and Charles back at the money pit.
Yeah,
he must just got back from taking elevation of the stone road.
Very likely. That guy's everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere.
I should play that clip. I kind of overused it last week.
You do.
All right. Steve noted all the wood they pulled up, calls Scott over, and because Scott wasn't gone anyway.
Yeah.
And he says that they should soon see the bottom of the shaft if they're in the Tupper shaft, because the bottom few feet should be in place, and that'll help them get the dimensions of where the wall sits, and it's going to tell them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes the most sense.
Yep, they need to know this information to know where to place the drill next to get the next orientation, so that they can kind of really triangulate where this thing, where every point of it is, because you need to know. Like later on, they're going to decide if they go east or west of the Tupper shaft, right? And so you need to know where the east wall is. You need to know where the west wall is, so you can base your dimension, how many feet off of that you go. So
no, exactly. So we can get the 10 feet.
I don't know if you've ever heard us say this before, but if you're off by an inch,
you're off by a mile.
You're off by a mile when digging for things. And if they take the wrong corner or something and measure 10 feet, and it's really just 5 feet,
and it's oriented a different way.
Yeah, because they're at the wrong corner. Well, sorry, that's gonna mean you're gonna miss it, because you're 5 feet off.
Exactly, and the fact is that, let's say they're 10 feet away based off of which side, and then our Choice holes 10 feet, but then those are only 6 inches. And then you get a 4-inch casing out of it, right?
Yep.
So you're going 10 feet. You have a lot of those 6 inches in there. And if you want to hit it on the money pit, then you need to have the right information.
Yeah, I think I heard somewhere that those every time they drill one of these things, it's like 20 grand.
And what did Steve say?
I don't know.
This episode?
I don't know if that's a true number or not, but I've read that somewhere. $20,000 per choice borehole. That might be way off, but that's what I had heard.
Well, I mean, that seems, yeah, for the depth. I'm just thinking of how much it takes to drill a well around here, but it also depends on the type
we'll
of
get to
soil
what
and
Steve
all that.
says here in a minute. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so Steve, then, they do get one more choice sausage on the operating table, and it's from a depth to 103.5 feet, but all that's there is a beam of wood.
Yeah, they literally just hand Steve a piece of wood in
They're like, here, look
in
what
a
came
piece
up,
of
Steve.
plastic. They're like, here. Well, okie dokie then.
Yeah, and so it's a wooden beam, and Terry's looking at it closely, and he's like, oh yeah, it's cut by axe. Axe cut wood.
Could it be?
It's right there, axe cut wood.
And you look at this beam. What are the odds that you're gonna? And we just talked about these 4 inches, right? That you're gonna come down in such a point that you don't scrape the side, one of the sides of the beam, so you can actually tell it's a vertical axe cut wood. What direction the grain is going? That's crazy to me.
That's a dream team for you. That's Scott. That's Terry. That's Charles, and that is Steve Guptill triangulating the right exact spot to put it down.
And Choice, with the most recent interview that they did over at the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond, he was saying that their wells only deviate 3 to 4 feet while they're. Steve said that with Choice drilling, that what they're getting is they're only deviating within the well that much. And in the past, I mean, we've seen they walk anywhere from 8 to 20 feet.
Yeah.
So I have to kudos to Choice for being able to do a well that only deviates that far at that depth. That's pretty crazy.
Still, if you're off by an inch, you're off by a mile.
Exactly. But if you're only off by 3 feet, then you're off less than 10 feet.
No, if you're off by 3 feet, you're off by I don't know how many inches, 36 miles. you're way off. But if you're trying to go straight down, it doesn't matter. You're off by an inch, you're off by a mile. I know that they're doing really good and getting it close, but man, 3 feet is a lot.
Not in the big scheme of things, but it is when you're trying to come down a wall. Now, if they were deviating and floating and walking the 15 to 20 feet they were before, that would make this job even more difficult.
I don't know. 24 to 36 miles does not sound super close to me. Just saying.
I'm just saying, I know how hard it is to put them straight down. So kudos to Sonic.
No, yeah, they're doing a great job, but it's just if you want what's straight under your feet, you're not going to get it. So it's really difficult. That's why they need the big dig. Big dig. Okay. You could just dig one giant hole that stays consistent all the way down.
Let's see. That's what here. Yeah, so we've talked about and Steve says, so now with this, they've got a side, a wall, and a floor. So we've hit the bottom, apparently, at 103.5 feet.
103.5.
Okay. And that must mean the floor is remotely intact. That's good information.
They found a good chunk of good location of the Tupper shaft. So well done, guys. Well done.
Okay. So Rick shows up and said he's heard there's some excitement up here in the money pit. We agree.
Yep. Terry says that they've been successful in this first hole. Charles shows Rick the beam that they just found and calls it hand-hewn lumber. Rick says, wow. Rick says wow a lot in this episode.
He does. So does Marty. They're very wowed.
He calls it incredible, fantastic. Rick hopes to find the true orientation of the Tupper shaft because it'll help them find the money pit. Steve says that the next hole will help them confirm or deny the orientation of the Tupper shaft.
So they
Big words, Steve.
Big words.
Big words.
So they think they know. They have a good idea. And so in the next hole, they'll either get confirmation that that is indeed the way they think it is, right? How it's laying in the ground, because they, like we said, they have a side, they have a bottom, all the stuff. So, or it's just completely different than what they thought, which is classic Oak Island, so that's possible. And Rick says that they need all the information possible. We agree. Yeah, just like what you said, in order to make a good decision.
And so they are feeling good about the Tupper shaft at this point.
They have their marching orders. It's time.
Time to march off into the war room? No, not quite. Let's go back to lot 25.
Yeah, let's talk lot 25, and then we'll do that final war room. Lot 25, Laird's happy place.
It is Laird's happy place, isn't it?
I bet you 25 is his lucky number, just like mine.
Could be.
It's towards the beginning.
Is it toward the beginning? I can't find it in my notes. All right, so
Right
lot
there.
25. Marty shows up and says, "Yo, Laird, what up? How's it going out here?"
Yeah, that was a word for word quote. Yo, Laird, what up?
Yeah, so Laird is in a pit.
Not of despair.
No, but he's hanging out with Liz Michaels, and they are doing some hardcore, heavy-duty work at the Ball Foundation on lot 25.
And they have cleared a lot in the area. Oh my goodness. Remember last episode, he's like, we're just getting started. We got to kind of clear this underbrush and so we can get in. And then you get this shot and it's like flags everywhere. And well, the grass is a lot shorter. And Laird's really been going to town with that trowel. Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
He's dug his own grave, like Jack Bagley did last year. No, not quite. His is at least, I guess, since Laird's like the head honcho there, he doesn't have to do a nice, neat rectangle. He could just go to town, do what he wants.
They know that's the cellar, so he's got there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, so there is a little explanation of Samuel Ball, lot 25, kind of like background information, like they do every time they bring him up, which is cool.
And they mention him potentially being listed as one of 3 men first discovering the money pit.
Yeah, they kick Anthony Vaughn right out of that story. And that's fine. Maybe it was Samuel Ball.
Yeah, I mean, who
Maybe
knows?
It was Anthony Vaughn. Don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't there. So I couldn't tell you. Marty asks if they have found anything to link Samuel Ball to the treasure hunt in particular, or to a treasure find, I guess.
Yeah, Laird just says that, well, his biggest question is, why is Cellar this big? Like, he's not really concerned about Samuel Ball finding the treasure or not, I don't think. Like, if that happens to be so and he finds evidence of it, that's a nice, happy byproduct. But he's just like, Marty, you're asking the wrong questions here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about him finding the treasure until we find something that says he found the treasure. But Marty's just like,
he's having a conversation.
No. He's wondering if like, how much wealth Samuel Ball had, because that tells him a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Marty makes it very clear that Samuel Ball worked hard and acquired wealth and did it that way and overcame adversity. But he's also wondering if he got lucky, found some ring bolts and followed it to the treasure. I mean, you can't blame the guy. It's worth asking.
Yeah, what if he found the ring bolts, dislodged them, buried them?
Ta-da! Yeah. I'm telling you. He's got some ring bolts in that cellar.
Yeah, so Marty does ask what the next steps are in this location. And Laird replies that they're going to finish cleaning up the area out, like clear it out, and then probably excavate it in quadrants to see what's underneath.
Exactly. And that makes sense. I mean, could be a cellar that big for the cold storage in the winter months there. And I don't know, all the cabbage. And there's so many reasons you could have a cellar like that.
Yeah, so Marty says that he's really interested in what's going on in this area. Carry on, Laird, do your thing. But I'm going to go get Gary to do some metal detecting. So that's what he does.
Yep.
But right before they do that, in a little like side interview, Marty says that this house was substantial, like the size of it.
Yeah.
For the time. Samuel Ball, like he had a big, you know, his property had a big complex on it, right? So it's like, it's not something you would think just a cabbage farmer, and that's all he did, would end up having.
No.
So
And
it indicates he was a successful guy, and he had wealth. So they do, Gary powers on his metal detector.
Boop, 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 boop. And shows up, and Marty, he becomes the lucky digger of the episode, and they get a hit.
Yeah, I saw something on Facebook yesterday that said, like, why doesn't Gary ever dig any of his own holes? And what I saw was the best response to that, because everyone's like, oh, he doesn't want to get his hands dirty. He gets his hands dirty all the time.
Yeah,
he always sticks his hands down in the dirt. I think this might be right. Is the person said he doesn't want to take all of the fun. Like, literally, if he's there metal detecting and digging, he gets to celebrate by himself. And so, which is fun, like he's used to doing that on the beach in Florida. But if he gets somebody to come over there and dig, then they have something to talk about. They have an extra person in the scene. It's a benefit for the show.
Well, exactly. And your additional person, it makes it, putting the metal detector down, putting it back up. Like, I've been out metal detecting by myself, and it's a bit much,
cumbersome.
And then you also, you have someone to help keep you straight on the line as you're working. It's nice to have an extra set of hands. So
yep. So they are metal detecting. You can see that, like Deidre said, the little flags are everywhere. I don't know if those are all things that Gary wanted to check on, but they do go over a few points here or a few areas, and they get some hits. The first hit they dig up is
the pocket knife.
Pocket knife.
So he pulls it out of the ground, and something I had noted is as soon as he does that, you see a little pink flag get tossed in the ground. And that interview I was talking about with Steve and Laird on the Curse of Oak Island Beyond, they were asking about these flags that are everywhere. And Steve mentions sometimes when Gary goes out metal detecting, he places like the flags in the places, so Steve can go back and like boop 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 mark them. So it just made me giggle because that was a little piece of information, and it's like dig, bing. Here you go, Steve. Here's some homework. Here's where I found it.
I wonder how many points on the island Steve has tagged.
I mean,
it's gotta be thousands
at least, because think of the number of flags you've seen.
Yeah. kind of a lot.
That's like guessing the number of jelly beans in a jar. Oh, yikes.
Yeah, so they found this little pocket knife, and Marty noted that the pocket knife looks to have copper on both ends, and Gary agrees. He says that's probably why the detector picked it up. Marty said that it looked like a fine gentleman's pocket knife, and they're hoping that it's valuable because, going back to the thing, if it was valuable, that would indicate that Samuel Ball probably lost it, and or if he lost this one in particular, it was probably, it indicated that he was wealthy.
And I concur. It looks like a fine gentleman's pocket knife.
Yep.
Next up is they find the patent tag.
Well, there was another metal detector, and they're like, doesn't sound good.
Yeah, exactly.
I always wonder about those ones, though.
It's probably someone's beer can or something. I don't know.
Dave.
It's a Crown can.
A lid. Yeah, so yeah, you're right. They do find a little tag that says patent on it. And there's a lot of speculation about what it could be. There's even like a little side animation, Clotworthy over, where he talks about when guns are made and they have these patent tags on them, or kind of like a maker's mark, something to indicate where it came from. And, if they had kind of invented a style of something that went on the
like on the
or
musket or the
rifle
butt
or whatever.
Yeah.
So pretty cool stuff. And so they find it. I'm sure they're going to get it cleaned up,
Mm-hmm.
but they clearly saw the word patent on it. And Gary says Marty asks him for a date on it, and Gary says, well, it looks period for the lot.
Yeah.
Mate.
And
1790, 1830.
That's what we want. So I haven't looked into the patent tag or anything like that.
Me neither.
So
pretty neat though.
Just a heads up.
Yeah. So that's kind of, that's what they do. That's what they get done at lot 25.
Mm-hmm.
So we're headed toward the end of the episode here, and we got the money pit, or not the money pit. We got the
war room
meeting,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a big war room meeting.
Deal.
Yeah. So. Okay, so we had Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Doug's like, hey, I need a meeting in the war room.
Yep.
He's got a lot of pull.
Oh, yeah. I'm realizing Doug has a lot of pull.
He's got a lot of pull. So he congregates everybody there. We had, Rick, Marty, and Craig were there. We had a handful of other people like Scott, Steve, Alex. I guess that was everybody, and Doug. Mm-hmm. And they're going over a decision. They need to make a decision at this point. Do they, now that they think they found the Tupper shaft, where do they go from there? Because the information that they have at this point says that they need to go somewhere closer to or toward borehole OC1.
Yeah,
because that's what's been indicated, and that's what they've been kind of working toward the whole for years now.
And we've seen the wood come out, and it seems to be like it makes sense, right?
Yeah. And so but the reason for this war room meeting is that Doug had found some additional information.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug says, well, I found this old map in Dan Blankenship's archives.
Yeah.
And it indicates where the Tupper shaft is, and it indicates where the money pit would be in relation to it. And
yeah. I don't remember what he said the date was on the map either.
I think I got it here somewhere. Is late 1800s.
Yeah, 1890s. There it is.
Yeah. And so they're looking at this cool map, and it just it tells them that the Tupper shaft, where it's oriented, it would be like if north is up on this map, it'd be left of it, so it'd be west.
Yes.
And that's just crazy because they've been thinking it would be to the east. Yeah, and north of borehole OC1.
But they come up empty-handed with all these drill holes.
They do.
Could it be we've been looking for the money pit in the wrong place this entire time?
Yeah. That's really bonkers.
It poses the question, where do we go next?
Yeah. Well, Agnes, after our one of our podcast listeners, Agnes, after watching this episode, she messaged me and said, "I'm so mad at Dan. Dan had this information, and hey, to be fair to Dan, he's an old guy. Maybe he forgot.
A lot of information.
Maybe he forgot. You didn't know where this the Tupper shaft was. I don't know.
And there's conflicting information everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you've got a bunch of information and stuff saying it's to the east or whatever, then why would you even consider this something that is to the west?
Yeah. Pretty crazy. Like legit pretty crazy. And then we do have like Steve saying, well, I don't know. We've done like 400 of these sonic drill boreholes since I've been here. And that's like what, 3 years?
I said, wow.
400.
Yes. So he was here last year.
Yeah. How many have we seen? Before. We haven't even seen 10% of those on the show.
And there's not even that many of them that are on the map.
Yeah, but you do have to think that, Steve arrived before they were interested, like before they did some stuff up in the mega bin. So he's probably counting those. So
he says since he arrived, they've done that many.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that would probably include whatever they did in the mega bin, because they did a bunch of sonic drilling up there too.
Yeah, but wasn't he there that year?
Yeah. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying it includes that.
Oh,
but,
okay.
But it's probably, they're not doing like 2 or 100 or 200 holes up there. Most of these things are in the money pit.
Yeah,
And that's just
exactly.
insane. Yeah, that's like, I did some math. If they were $20,000 per borehole, that's $8 million in just sonic drilling. They are keeping the sonic drill industry afloat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, literally, that thing's got to keep moving at all times so that you're not wasting money. And the question is, where do we go next? We're really what's been laid out in front of us is, hey, we're running out of time. Scott's like, we need a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me where to put this.
Yeah. And so they say, well, Marty says, well,
let's
whatever.
do both.
Yeah. Marty wanted to do both. Alex suggested, well, you know what? Let's go after the West target first to rule it out.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I'm glad they did that because this new information is very interesting. Doug knows what he's talking about. He found this in Dan's archives. Let's at least check it out.
Mm-hmm.
You've already done 399 holes elsewhere. Let's do the 400th one over on the west side of the Tupper Shaft.
Yeah, let's explore that area fully.
But wait a second. Didn't they explore that area before? What's over on the west side of the Tupper Shaft? Isn't there another borehole over there?
Oh, C1. Charles. So this is where Charles kind of gets his credit again.
Yeah, and he wasn't even at this war room, which is unfortunate. Because he would have been there.
He was like, I told you so.
Yeah.
And because at the beginning of the season, it, like Charles said, every time we think we're done with C1, there's something that pulls it back in. So that's why this C1 still exists right now. Yeah.
Crazy.
Charles has been on to something. He has not been leading us astray. He's trying to say, guys, it's here.
Yeah, that was one of the things that Agnes pointed out to me. Charles was right the whole time. He's had this information. So, yeah, in the beginning of the season, the first thing they did was get someone down borehole C1 again. So it's just funny. It's full circle.
Full circle.
All right, so that's kind of the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have next time on the Curse of Oak Island.
Yes. So next time on In the Swamp, we have Rick, Gary, Craig, Dr. Spooner, and Billy. And Rick finds the top of a keg.
That's pretty cool. They found one of those before.
Yeah.
And so Doug and Scott, they take it to Carmen Lake for analysis. And Carmen says it's extremely old. It could go back to the 1400s. Like 1400s.
That's bananas.
Was this Columbus's keg?
Maybe. Maybe he was drinking out of it with his shoes.
Yeah, maybe he had
with his
gold.
Shoes.
No, yeah. What are you talking about? Or maybe he had gold in his keg.
Or maybe with the, I don't know.
Gary, metal detecting, of course. He says, holy shamoly. And that's all we see.
Yep.
Miriam's in the swamp and asks Rick to come take a look at something. Rick and Billy arrive to take a look, and Miriam is bagging the artifact, and Aaron and Gary are looking on. So, like, something big.
It's something big.
Because in the war room...
And they don't show it to us.
Well, they have a war room meeting, and Ian says, that's the most significant artifact we have. And
it's going to be a stick, because he gets really excited about sticks.
I don't know. Billy, Miriam, and Rick were all there. So, I mean, it must be about whatever Miriam had found. And at the end, it showed choice sausage being delivered to Terry's operating table by Steve and Scott. Terry and Charles receiving it. Charles asks what they've got, gentlemen. Rick says that it's incredible. Doug is also there and says, debris field, baby.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And Rick says it might actually be the money pit. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
So cool. What an awesome episode.
Seriously, great
episode. It just leaves us wanting more. And we're going to get it next week on the Curse of Oak Island. So we're pretty stoked about it.
Next week, we have a drilling down. Right. So that's beforehand, the Samuel Ball Oak Island connection. And then we have a regular episode after it as well. So that means our pregame is going to be an hour earlier.
It sure is.
So it'll be at 4 o'clock.
Pregame will begin at 4 o'clock next Thursday, Tuesday.
Yes.
And but we'll be here at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern on Monday to do Oak Island Trivia, where you can win some awesome Oak Island stuff. Like some of our people did last week. I played last week and I didn't come in first place. People whooped me and it was awesome.
You definitely got whooped.
Right,
but it's your turn to do questions this week.
It is. Yeah, and so the next episode is called Cask and You Shall Receive. So
I
looking
like
forward
it.
to it.
Yep.
Do we have Clotworthies?
Yes, we have 2 clot-worthy moments for this week. Actually, I can do it from here.
Okay.
Okay.
We're running out of time. So
I know.
let's
Sorry.
press the first Clotworthy.
We're out of the babysitter. All
Yeah,
right.
I forgot to put up Clotworthy vote last week.
I know.
My bad.
You're in trouble. Not really. Okay, so our first clot-worthy moment to vote on for this week is
another possible section of the stone pathway running along the eastern border of the swamp.
another section
Of the stone pathway.
Could it be?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so it's going up against
a patent plate, possibly from an old rifle or musket.
Dun, dun, dun.
Very cool. So those are your Clotworthy choices. You can vote on them. Hopefully by the end of the day today.
He's gonna do this.
Facebook.com/OakIslandPodcast. Find our groups tag or a link. Click on it. Join the group. You can vote. You can be part of history when we tally the votes next week.
Yes. So that is, could it be an Oak Island group?
Yes.
And then you can also vote on Twitter, which is at Oak Island Pod.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us on Instagram. You can't vote there, but hey, come join the fun at Oak Island Podcast. We have an email.
Yeah, and
OakIslandPodcast@gmail.com.
And we had an email this week and we didn't even get to it. Yeah,
I totally missed it.
It was from Jeff, our trivia champ. It says, in my opinion, cofferdam material is being stored up in the money pit area, not the 40 or 50 foot long stuff they spoke of, something half as long. Never brought the big crane this year or built any of the pieces he's seen. His 2 cents, because we were talking about because they're going to build the cofferdam in the swamp and it just hasn't happened yet, but we did see cofferdam material go across the causeway at one point. So yeah,
could be on hold. We'll see.
Thanks for that email, Jeff. If you would like to be like Jeff, he's a cool guy. You can play Oak Island Trivia and beat Jeff, because you should do that. You should try. But you can also email us, like Deidre said, OakIslandPodcast@gmail.com. You can also call our Oak Island voicemail line.
Do it.
360-836-4549. And that is something Marty Lagina once did. So be cool like Marty.
Be cool like Marty.
And that's about it.
All right.
You can vote for the... see, we're out of whack here.
I already told you to vote.
No, but you can also vote on Twitter.
I already said that.
Oh.
But
Oak
you
Island
can,
Pod.
at Oak Island Pod. Sorry, we're like racing the clock here.
No, we're good. We just finished it just at the right time. I think that's it. All right.
Okay, everybody. We will see you on
Monday.
Oak
Island Trivia, 5 p.m.
Yep.
Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern.
That's correct.
All right.
So until next time.
Could it be?